Welcome to the Grow and Expand with S podcast, where we break through limitations, we heal from within, and we step into our most expansive, most fulfilled, and happiest lives and businesses. And on today's episode, I'd love to welcome Rebecca Antonucci. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
I don't know whether I pronounced your last name right. Sorry.
You did such an amazing job. It's great to be here.
So you're a coach and a mentor to women ready to reclaim their power within, which I absolutely love.
Yes. That and many things, a podcaster as well. But any woman that just feels like she doesn't believe and feel true internal safety and security to be her fully expressed self in the world, we do that work together so that she can go out and live her truly best life.
Her best fucking authentic life,
Yes.
right? And how important is that?
Yes.
So, yeah, I think I need a bit of you when it comes to the podcasting and all the recording. But
Let's
anyways,
go. I'm happy to infuse some
it's a
Rebecca
journey.
Antonucci energy into us today.
Thank you. So I invited you on today's episode
Yeah.
to talk about the recent reel by Griffin that went viral.
Yes.
So it was based off his podcast called The Pocket Podcast. And in this reel, you know, he expressed views, I suppose, and opinions that a lot of people, which I think is important to acknowledge, took great offense to, couldn't connect into, and didn't understand, right? And then I suppose the thing that really made me want to speak about the topic, it's not so much whether what he said was right or wrong, whether what anyone else said and their perspectives or opinions is right or wrong. The thing that really struck a chord with me is that there's this 22-year-old man who has his own podcast and has done an exceptional job at it. What I have done is look back at all of his past episode topics, and he's definitely aligned with, very similar to me, in uplifting his sector of humanity. So mindset, nervous system alignment, empowering people. So good shit, right? Then he said something that, let's just for the purpose of this podcast say was wrong in some people's mind. And it's the backlash from that, not just from everyday people, but from some really prominent leaders in this space, and how they then treated him in that moment where he didn't do the right thing and he did the wrong thing, that I found vile. I found it really sad and really difficult to swallow.
Yeah, I think it's hard no matter who this was directed to, but what was really eye-opening for me is that he's only 22 years young. And so when I listened to what he said and I was listening to what people were saying back, this is people with a lot of maturity and a lot of life experience projecting and shaming and belittling and, my opinion, taking advantage of an opportunity for them to go viral based on his virality to a 22-year young man who is learning. And maybe he could have said things different, better, more eloquently. Maybe not. He's 22 years old. Would I have had a different perspective about what he said if he was 32? Absolutely. But I think there was a lot of people with a lot of maturity online that didn't show up maturely for a 22-year young man who, like you said, is doing a lot of great things in the world.
I couldn't agree more. You know, like I always like to believe, and this has probably really helped me in my own personal journey, that whatever has come out of our mouths has come out. Like that could not have changed no matter what. And the only thing we can then ask is, did that serve what we're really about at the core? Or did it not serve what we're really about at the core, right? And sometimes we can recognize that ourselves, but sometimes it takes someone else to obviously kind of guide us or make us aware of that so that we can do that introspection, so that we can obviously evolve into the exact way it is that is in alignment with us, which often is what the other people's goals are as well. And I think this is where I found a real big problem with it. Inner child, we all have inner children, right? They're all sort of different maturity levels. Can you imagine a little boy on a school stage getting up and saying something that he felt good about in that moment? So whether he ought to not have or he ought to have, like he did. So like,
And it was his truth in that moment.
Correct. That's my point. Well summarized, right? Like, so he's saying it. He's put a lot of time and effort and energy and money into his entire podcast. And this is a snippet of it. You get up, you say something, and all of a sudden you realize that it might not have been right, But how do you realize that? The entire school, children, starts spouting belittling, shameful, mean,
Bullying.
resentful bullying. It's fucking bullying. They all start just coming at you for this thing you just said. Like, that shock must have been shit. Like, I'm not sure whether Chris feels it, felt it. You never know. But for me, that would just feel like not a safe space to ever reflect on one thing that you motherfuckers are saying to me, because I'm feeling super unsafe in how you're coming at me. The newspapers, I don't know whether you've read the news articles, like the news is slamming him. Everybody is. And I just, in a world where a lot of us are trying to move towards the end goal and vision, which is some form of love, I'd hope, connection,
Love
healed,
and connection, yes.
right?
In whatever way love and connection manifests for you, yes.
When someone says something we don't agree with or we believe could be said different or better and or handled better, how do we, what's the best way to go about it? I don't know, but I know what's not the best way to go about it, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think I love what you're saying here, because I obviously work with women who are desiring to express themselves courageously. And a part of that is breaking free from the fear of judgment, breaking free from the fear of rejection, breaking free from the fear of being wrong. What if I don't say the right thing? And so almost your example of the inner child, what I picture in terms of Chris and your example is that child's been a straight A student and got everything right and been so praised and had his podcast and the 68 incredible episodes that he had, and that one thing that he did wrong. Done. And we're going to rip the rug from underneath you, and we're going to shame you, and we're going to tell you how bad you are, and we're just going to point. I don't think as a group of humans, if we imagined the internet not being the internet, but we were in an auditorium and Chris was there, would we have stood for everyone saying what they said to him? Challenge is one thing.
Correct, hey, of course, that's part of it.
Chris, you're 22. I'd love to challenge a few of the things that you said and how you said it. But to bully and to basically throw energetic rocks at this man and feel like we're validated too. Oh, he's got 80,000 followers on his podcast platform. Therefore, he needs to be taught a lesson. He's misogynistic. I personally didn't hear misogyny in what he said. I heard a 22-year-old man who's in his young prince era. What I saw was a man desiring to be a king in his life, desiring to be a provider in his life. Well, a part of being a king is to be a provider and create relaxation in a woman's nervous system if she desires that. And then what I also saw was a load of angry women charging at this man, which I feel says so much more about the angry woman than the young 22-year-old man desiring to be a king and desiring to be a provider. And what I also saw was a lot of women almost projecting a victim mindset onto a young man and taking away how powerful we are as women.
I know.
To own how brilliant we are. So I'd love to know your views on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. The woman I kind of understood in a sense, because I've had to work through that bitterness within myself when I had to heal from my own journey with my father, who was very abusive, very toxic, physically, emotionally, narcissistic. And yet I loved him, but I wanted what he was not able to provide. And when he passed away a number of years ago now, I obviously had to reconcile it in some way, shape or form. And as part of that, I had to feel all those parts. Every part of the woman that I could look or feel, I was like, I recognize that part and I've reconciled it. So I could kind of understand it, not for a second condone how it was said. Not for 1 minute do I think that Chris deserved any of that, so that you know, not.
Yes.
But the thing that I found probably the most rattling is that when we are in this space where more people are taking up leadership positions and assuming it, even though we all are leaders, more of us are going online with our leadership. When we are so fucking petrified of saying the wrong thing, we are so petrified of making mistakes, thanks, age-old conditioning that we're all working to release, rewire. But then when this happens and there's a perfect opportunity for a constructive conversation to align people together towards that one vision, and the leaders in the room are doing the opposite and almost mirroring the behavior they're calling out, That's the bit that I really haven't reconciled yet.
Yeah, I think we were saying this before we went live. I believe that shaming someone into doing the right thing is never the right thing.
Yeah.
So those parts that you spoke about, I think we can all put our hand up and say, I resonate with being an angry woman. And then projecting that anger and wanting who we're projecting at to change so that we don't feel angry. But the power is actually getting really curious about why we're angry and why do I need that man to own what he said and change the way that he said it. Why? For what purpose?
Yeah, how's it impacting you, and what is it within you that it's bringing up that you need to reconcile, or, and then there'll be people that say that's victim blaming, and I call bullshit because I've been a victim, literally a child when the father is abusive. So I've been a victim in any sense of the word, and taking ownership and accountability for my own emotions, my own wounds, where I want to go in life and how to get there from within myself has been the most empowering fucking thing I've ever done. There is nothing victimhood about saying stop looking to how you can change the other person and start looking within yourself and reclaiming and building your own inner power.
Yeah. Why did you feel so passionate about this experience? I'm curious.
Great question. I felt passionate for a number of reasons. The first reason was probably I'm shit scared to fully express my truth. And I have such a great depth of truth. It's richer than anyone could know because I can't express properly, right? When I was a child, when I spoke up, I got persecuted. For me, expression means like severe punishment.
Yes.
I've come such a beautiful far way to even be sitting here today and like starting my podcast and speaking out, but it's still a part that is in progress, in process of healing and, fully embodying and owning. Like there's parts I've owned. I know what it feels like to own a part. I don't own this part yet, if you know what I mean. To see someone who's similar to me trying to make change, positive change, who's done that in such a really big realm through every other podcast episode and person he would have positively impacted, get slammed and annihilated for making a mistake, for being human, for being fucking human, for being a human who has certain conditioning which just showed up in that way. Like we showed zero grace, zero tolerance, zero compassion. I found it so incredibly harsh. And I suppose for me, it was a stark reminder of the very thing I'm battling with. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I love that so much because you're passionate less about what he said, how he said it, who's right, who's wrong, people's opinions about it, but more someone doing something so brilliant for so long and then expressing one truth that doesn't align with the masses. And then just getting almost cancel culture. You're done now. Until you own what you said and you change it to align with what we think and feel, we want you taken off the internet. But again, we were speaking about just before we went live, in the past couple of weeks, there's been a mental health crisis and losing some beautiful football players to suicide. And I don't think the internet is just full of everything. And if that young man did something crazy over the next couple of weeks because of all of the backlash and hate that was projected at him, would people really feel good about that? Would they be so happy that they really taught that man a lesson because he spoke about hot girl walks at 22? Yeah. Like he's fucking 22 years old and he's a young man.
Yeah, it goes such a far way to show a lack of tolerance for something different to us.
And the other piece is if he's a leader, you use that word quite a lot, right? He's a leader. What makes him a leader? He's got a social platform. He's put a lot of time and energy into his podcast. People are following him. Right now, it's harder than ever for people to click follow. So if he's a shitty leader, everyone can unfollow on their own accord. And his podcast will go from 80,000 to 0 pretty fast. No one's forcing anyone to follow anything. Everyone who's listening to this right now is doing it from their own internal authority of they have some kind of desire, whether they align or they disagree. There's something about you and I that they wanted to tune into this. And at the end of the episode, they're going to say, hey, what do I feel about what I heard today? What are my beliefs? What are my opinions? What did they reflect? What did Beck say that didn't really align with me? Am I triggered by her? But that's our own internal authority and our own internal leadership. Chris isn't forcing anyone to listen to his show. anyone to hit the follow button, any woman into a hot girl walk, or any woman into providership. We all are so connected and able to, in any moment, say yes to anything and say no to anything, including who we follow and who we look at as leaders online. And the moment someone's message turns in a way that no longer aligns with us. There's someone online, a really funny comedian. I used to love him. He's gone super political and it almost feels like mean and nasty.
Yeah.
I loved him. And I'm just like, oh, for 3 years, I loved following this guy. I don't resonate anymore. Unfollow.
Yeah.
Not like I hate you. I'm like, that's his truth now. His truth
and
no
we're
longer.
just no longer aligning.
No, aligns with my truth. Doesn't make him bad.
No.
Doesn't make him wrong. Just makes him no longer someone that resonates with me.
Yeah. The thing I found so interesting is the projections from both male and females generally, plus leaders.
Yes.
It was like they unloaded years and years and years of wrath and conditioning onto this, like, fucking, what was it, like a minute reel?
Yes.
You know, there was, I want to just touch on it.
Do it.
There's this, I didn't know about this guy before I watched the reel.
Who, Chris?
No. Oh, sorry.
I didn't know about Chris until the reel.
I'd seen, I had never connected in, the reel solidified for me.
Right.
So it's come across, I think probably because it's mindset or whatever. No, there was a guy that commented. So his name is Tarang Chala. And I did not know anything about him before I saw the comment that jumped out and how it was written, right? And then since then, so it didn't sit right with me how it was framed up, but he invited Chris on his podcast, which I kind of liked. I was like, that's a good opportunity to, you know, maybe see that you guys, what are you aligned in, and workshop together. Anyways, I don't think it happened, but I went onto his social media since then, and now he comes up all the time, you know. He's got like 87.8K followers, so a fellow leader, because anyone with influence that speaks a message is leading, whether they like to admit it or not.
Yes.
About healthy masculinity is kind of his like thing, right? Healthy masculinity. So he's got some posts up, right? I'll read one to you. New policy idea. If your podcast has 2 men, 0 qualifications, 500 opinions on the divine masculine and feminine, you pay a broadcast tax. Funds go straight to DV crisis services and actual men's mental health initiatives to clean up the mess you monetize. So then I'll read one more and then I'll make my point. And then there's this other one, the podcast bros guide to accountability. Because calling women girls and telling them to go on hot girl walks and reinforcing tired old gender stereotypes doesn't actually help anyone. AKA, you can't think of yourself as a leader or positive influencer for men if you deflect every time women and allies call you in. Like, does that sound like an ally to you, these posts that I've read?
No, like I said, you cannot shame someone into doing what you think is the right thing is never the right thing. And I've been on a huge healing and growth journey myself. I have teachers, mentors, a nervous system mentor, and there's been things that I have done that I know that my nervous system teacher has said, that's not the Rebecca that I know, and that's coming from her wounds. But she has never shamed me, never made me wrong, never told me off, there's always been an invitation and compassion and understanding, knowing that she is the more regulated, more resourced woman in the room when it's me and her.
Yes.
And she's holding space for my growth and transformation. I can't poke you into growth and transformation.
No.
Be better, Shan, be better.
You obviously can't.
No.
You just can't. The person will go into flight. So they're either going to freeze, flight, or fight.
And so I don't know this man, but I find that would not be how I would like my husband to, and I don't have a husband yet, but that when I do, this beautiful man comes in, that would not be how I would desire my man to parent our son.
No.
If he did something that was out of alignment with what we thought was true and important.
His last one, 3 Australian women have been allegedly murdered by men this week. Maybe instead of encouraging women to go on hot girl walks, men can use their huge platforms to actually educate and stop other men from being the reason so many women walk in fear. This is where I want to delve in. Because you're linking women being murdered. Like, the responsibility you're putting on Chris and his fucking podcast is immense by this inferences, right?
Yeah, lots of people went around the domestic violence route, which was that is not what I heard. So we're hearing through
Chris
different
on
ears.
his own obviously just mentioned something that made people take those leaps.
Yes.
But you got to just also objectively hear what he said for a second.
Yes.
So then we've got this leader, and he does. I then did what I expect people to do. I went back, and he seems to be doing great and amazing work in this space. And I want to give credit where credit's fucking due. And God knows we need it. And I too don't want to say anything that ever makes someone else doubt themselves. But from a constructive perspective, you are a leader in healthy masculinity. And I don't know his age, but he's way older than Chris. So I'm going to take a leap based on picture face.
Mid-30s. I don't know. I haven't seen a picture.
I would say maybe a little bit older.
A little bit more mature. Okay,
there.
some level of
He's
maturity.
mature.
He's a mature. Okay, he's not 22. He's lived some years.
He's got experience.
Yes.
Which is why he can have this beautiful platform and do this beautiful work in healthy masculinity.
Yeah.
However, when the scenario evolved where one masculine,
Yes.
who's a leader for masculines, healthy masculinity, and a younger masculine who is also a leader for masculines, because Chris speaks largely, in my perspective, to the masculine side. That's the bit of me that also relates. Who did something wrong, bad, not good, whatever you want to label it as humans, in a moment where you can lead as a healthy masculine and approach that conversation and whatever follows, like every post, every conversation, every interaction around this, from a place of, maturity and respect and invitation. Here's what I see the sum of it all, Chris. Here is how I interpreted that and why I believe that that's not necessarily serving what I know your entire podcast is about, mate, because I can tell. And if I shouldn't tell, then maybe I shouldn't have come out so strong. Here's how I would have reframed or looked at it. Do you know what I mean? Like you have I'm not expressing it right, but you've got a healthy masculine teaching healthy masculinity.
You're saying that what he believes based on that man's social media is behaviors that reflect healthy masculinity, but the one in the time where it was most important.
Yeah, he didn't model it.
He didn't model it.
Yes.
And I guess my question around that is there was so much opportunity for virality because Chris was going so viral. It was all over the news. I didn't even watch the news and it was on the news because I put something up on my social media. I was talking about providership that week and women desiring men to step into their king and providing and leading so women could relax. So I heard it through that lens. So
me
I'm
too. So that you know, the first thing I thought was, fuck me, if that could be my life. I don't want to go for hot girl walks and I don't want to do postcards.
Yeah.
But if he could provide a safe space for me to do the shit that I'm passionate about and that lights me up, and I could just create purely from that space, it would be fucking phenomenal.
I mean, when I watched it, I was like, God, if this man in 16 years' time with the right mentor, he is going to be an absolute steal. What a lucky woman that ends up with him. That's the lens that I heard it through. I dismissed the hot girl walks. I'm like, he's 22. If my man turned
I had to Google what it is. Like I could infer, but I had to.
If I was dating a man and he spoke about a hot girl work, I'd be like, brother, I'm 37. Like, go date a 22-year-old.
Ask me what I want.
Yeah, and postcards. If he was like, go play the piano. If you desire to play the piano, I've got everything sorted, and do your work because you love it. Yeah. But if you want to go play the piano all day, just know, Rebecca, it's all good.
Yeah.
That so many women that are in my world now are doing what I've done, and we have hustled, and we're mid-30s, and we've worked so hard. We've got the multi-6-figure or 7-figure businesses, and we're tired. And so I heard Chris through that lens. But I also heard what he said through the lens of we're empowered women, that if we date a man who's offering full providership, so that if we desire to work, we choose to work, and if we don't want to work, we don't work. We have the internal authority and the resources and the knowledge about authentic communication to actually speak to him about what providership looks like. What providership looks like when we're in love, what providership looks like when we're in conflict, what providership would look like if we broke up. I trust that the women in my world know how to do that. So I heard that through that lens. But coming back to what were we originally talking about?
About that leader, the healthy masculine leader who in the moment where he could have modeled it.
My true curiosity is, because there was so much opportunity for virality, would everyone who showed up online the way that they showed up, if we were all sitting on the couches right now, we're sitting on couches, but we're in a big studio, lots of other couches. If we were all here and Chris was here too, would they have spoke in the same way with the same tonality at him, Or were they, like, I know that particular man spoke about monetization, right? Were they capitalizing? Chris went viral. This is the opportunity for all of us too. And now that there's a sea of very upset women, we can get them as followers now.
Yeah.
Were people capitalizing on an opportunity and being more aggressive and showing up in a way that I don't believe was their true truth because they wanted to capitalize on the virality? That was my curiosity.
Yeah, look, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I agree that that's a question, and like it's not one we can answer, we can speculate on. But what I can answer is if we're all working towards the same vision, you've got to be able as a leader to say what's the best way to get there. And in any given moment, how you show up, you need to ask yourself, is that more likely to get us there or is that less likely to get us there?
Yeah.
And then like however, when someone makes a mistake, we all will. When someone gets it wrong, we all will. When someone says something the other person hasn't arrived at yet or has evolved beyond or can't connect into, that will happen. We're human. We have to find a way where we can respectfully work together and listen to each other's opinions so that we can all arrive much easier and much quicker towards that end fucking vision that I think 99% of us desire, if not all.
You know, it's funny. I'm in a mentorship group with a group of leaders, and there's some of us love each other. We all actually love each other, but then there's triggers.
Yeah, correct.
And there's conflict, and it's just a group of humans. And my teacher, who leads the entire group, when there's conflict, he'll turn around and say, he has 4 kids. He's like, my kids fight. Yeah, my children are my greatest teachers. I watch them, and one will take the pencil that the other wanted just to piss the other one off.
Yep.
And then they have this conflict, and then sometimes I intervene and create some peace within the dynamic. Sometimes I just sit back and watch. Mm-hmm. Families fight. On the internet, there's this is a online space where we're going to replicate what happens in the real world. You and I could be best friends, and we're going to have a conflict at some stage. You and I could be best friends, and I could have a truth, and you could be like, nope. I hate vaping. Like, I have a very strong hate it. Like, everyone could, and people have come at me on the internet before. Biggest red flag in dating. I have a strong opinion about it. Strong. Health is my highest value.
It is. It's important that we own who we are and we can be different.
Exactly. And I've shared a view about vaping once because I was talking about dating standards. And I said a big red flag for me is if he smokes or vapes, that's a no.
That's a no for you.
Next minute, I wasn't even talking about addiction. Just like Chris wasn't even talking about domestic violence.
No.
I was talking about dating standards.
Yep.
And that my perception
and yours.
Yes.
So you're allowed to, seeing as it's yours.
I've been to the gym for 2 hours already today. I'm like, fitness is and health is my number one thing.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about dating standards, which is my perception of what I'm talking about. Not enrolling anyone, not saying don't vape. You do whatever the fuck you want with your life. I'm happy for you.
You're just not going to date me?
I just probably wouldn't date you, you know? You're not my provider.
I have to accept that.
You're not going to come in and let me play the piano all day. But I wasn't even thinking about how I was communicating it, and I was thinking dating standards. Next minute, half the people on the internet agree with me, and I got slammed by another half who had family members who had been impacted by addiction and were telling me that I was shaming addicts. That was not in my field at all. I was like,
it's people's own stories and projections. And
literally, I opened my phone and I was just like, it went just like viral, not Chris Griffin viral, but viral for me. I was like, what's happened? But you know what it taught me?
How did you feel? You go first and then I'll ask some questions.
At the time, I mean, I had another post that went wild last week. At the time, I hadn't built the capacity to the degree that I have now for judgment. I was shocked because I was like, I wasn't
Shock is the first one.
I was like, I wasn't even talking to addicts. I'm not shaming addicts. Addicts don't even, what's happening?
Yeah,
I was just dating
not
standards.
Within.
But what it did speak to, because I'm always in mentorship. So when I get feedback from the external world, I'm like, okay, this has happened. How do I want to be with this? And okay, I mean what I say when I say it. And I still meant what I said when I said it.
Correct.
Just like Chris probably meant what he said when he said it.
That was it. That's okay.
And it's still my truth. But what it taught me was, okay, the way that I communicated it then felt like shame to people who are addicts. So great. The next time that I communicate my truth around this thing, I'm not going to change my truth because my truth is my truth. Sounds like Chris wants to be...
Well, and you can't overcalculate it either because then you're becoming inauthentic.
Exactly. But I learned about how I don't believe shaming someone is ever going to be effective. And so I just learned about communication and how I can say one thing and 10 people could take that same thing a different way.
Yep.
And I'm at peace with, as long as I'm connected to my own intention.
Yep.
I'm in the learning experience of being human.
Yep.
And some people aren't going to like what I have to say. I wasn't saying, okay, I'm going to put this up about vaping and all the addicts of the world are going to hate me after it. Or,
Mate, no one is going to give you a harder time than vaping addicts, because as one, so I've never smoked. I wasn't a smoker, wasn't a vapor. My mum smoked since she was 16. I've grown up with it. It's a pattern that is so deeply embedded. Like, I've tried to go into the root of that pattern. You will not know how many times. And honestly, like, the day will come, because it's not something that is authentically aligned for me, but I'm not there, and I'm owning the fact that I'm not there. But let me tell you, I started vaping now probably about 3 years ago, and that level of addiction is fucking rife. And so I can only giggle, because I can only imagine what would have come at you from their own.
And that's someone like you that's a vape addict. And then there's people who have lost family members to addiction that then felt very seriously about what I was communicating about. Like the women talking to...
So they lost people through vaping or other addictions? Like, it went full-on addiction?
Whatever
I lost
addiction.
my dad to alcohol addiction.
Yes. So anyone that had some kind of opinion or some kind of family member that had been severely impacted by addiction, they came at me. And I was like, I wasn't at all talking about that.
No, of course not.
And so it was, and that's what I saw in Chris's experience.
Yes.
Because when I put up an opinion about Chris, lots of women spoke to me about domestic violence, and I was like, that is financial, men being financial abusers. I'm like, that is not what I heard. I heard through my lens, which is women in my world desiring the king, desiring the provider, want to put down the hustle, want to finally relax because he showed up with his traditional relationship values and she's saying yes from her. That's what I heard.
Me too.
So,
and that's the goal, right? Like, the goal is that women get to choose what it is that sounds good and feels good for them, that they desire, and find a man that it feels good to provide for her in that way. And I just don't know a world in which that is wrong. Like, we need to be able to coexist in this fucking world, because this world belongs to each and every one of us equally. We're both feminine and masculine, and not just feminine and masculine as in man, woman, feminine and masculine within each of us as well, has been wounded, has been conditioned, is evolving. And all we need to do is work through that in a way that we can coexist in a harmonious, loving, fucking connected way. But it seems hard, don't you think? Like,
yeah, and being...
Like, if you look at the evidence externally, it seems like a really big ask, I think. It gets me disheartened.
About what?
So I'm going to talk about my marriage. So that's probably the best way for me to describe it. So I've met my husband when I was 13 years old. We got married when we were 19. We both got married from the wounded versions of us, and I'm the one that started the healing journey, and the whole thing's in progress, okay? That's the best way I can describe it. But I look at my husband, who I give a fucking hard time to, because every time I up-level in inner power, this is the bar, and it's like not even, hey, come or go. It's like, I know he knows he has to come or goes, right? And we have children, and it's like, it's fucking hard, mate. And then sometimes I look at my husband sitting there and I go, like, as much as I struggle, he's struggling. As much as I'm in pain when I discover things or something doesn't work for me, he's in pain with his own stories. As much as I'm carrying, he's carrying. And it's fucking hard for both of us. And I want it for both of us to have been easier from the start. And the very least what I can hope for is that for our children one day in the future generation, it will be easier because we both love each other. Otherwise, we would not have chosen each other. And there's just some compassion and fucking empathy to be had there for what we both want, but it's so hard to fucking get there with the conditioning and the way we've been taught both.
Why do you still commit to each other and continue to choose each other?
That's probably an individual question for both, but I can tell you my reason. Yes. So why do I keep committing to Brahm? At the root foundation for me, I believe that family is really important, the family unit, once you've made that decision. And this is my father's conditioning, so make no mistake, I hear it when I fucking say it, right? Like my parents, I begged them to divorce as a child.
Really?
Begged. And all I ever got was this narrative I'm about to give you. And then I suppose as a kid I went, there's a level of disharmony that warrants breaking free from your belief that the family belongs together. And then there's a level of disharmony, which we have, Brahm and I, we have disharmony, where you're both still connected in the core, that you both want each other, you both want your family, you both want it to work, and you just have to admit it's not necessarily like the fairy tales. And in this piece where you both keep showing up for each other and doing the work and then choosing each other, there's beauty and love in that. There's a lot of fucking love in that, more than I ever got before we did this, right? And so then fundamentally, it's my preference and my deepest heart desire that we have a house where it just works harmoniously enough. But do I think it's the fairy tale that I believed in as a little girl? Fuck no. It's just not.
But does the fairy tale even exist?
That's what I'm saying, right? That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying there was a bit of artificial conditioning in that, what we were looking for.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, that feeling, I suppose, that every fucking Disney movie gave me, and like I love rom-coms, fucking repeat.
I was watching
repeat.
A Walk to Remember last night. I love when they fall in love.
Yeah, like love. Like that's not the energy that I feel regularly on the regular when we live in life and it's a shit show and we've got children and he's got his career and I've got mine. But then it's those moments I just took you in before, like where I see him and then we come together and I'm like, it's deeper. It feels deeper. And then I'm like, that's good enough for me. Like, you know, that almost feels like bad to say, but that's good enough for me. And
I just think having a commitment and a willingness, no matter what it looks like, if there's two people that are committed and willing and continuously choosing each other and stepping back into the fire, because no relationship is going to be easy. I will meet my partner in the next year, fall madly in love, have 3 years of wild sex, and then I'm going to have a baby, and that's going to be a whole new experience. And it's going to be for me, the belief around relationship is knowing that fires are coming.
yeah.
All of us walk through our own fires of life all the time. And because we're living, we have to get it back up and commit and re-choose ourselves every day, no matter what shows up. And the gift of relationship is just knowing that the fire of life is going to come for that too. Yeah. And do both people keep leaning in and showing up?
See, that's the breaking point for me. So it just came to me when you were saying it. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And then there's those points where when one person does the work more than the other, for me, that's that line with, you know, can we continue past or not?
Yeah.
Because there's going to be fires and both people need to be there for each other in doing their own work separately and then together for it to continue to evolve. And if one person doesn't want to anymore, that's a really tough fucking crunch point. And I speak about it in my current marriage, but there is friend after friend, woman after woman that's facing it in some way, shape or form. Like, you know, when you're willing to do the work, but the other person isn't.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been in a long-term relationship to be able to comment, but it is something that women reflect back to me often. I mean, one of my teachers talks about the woman being the muse and the activator. And again, this isn't coming from personal experience, and I think it's much easier said than done than being in the fire and living it out. But if the woman saying this was to detach from him needing to do the same amount of work as her, and her doing the work and shining and loving him so fiercely in her growth that it almost inspires him to want to do his own, and allowing him to feel literally the separation of if he doesn't.
Yeah, they divided.
Yes.
They're not together anymore. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's powerful. I get that. I really do. Inside of me, the feminine went first. There was like this point where my feminine was like, fuck off. Like, we mean business. Let's go, right? And then it's through her that I kind of reconciled the masculine aspects.
Yeah.
She had to decide she had enough. And it kind of mirrors out in all my relationships as well.
What age are you and your partner?
So I'm 36 and he's turning 40 this year.
Okay.
Yes. It's so interesting. It's fascinating. You know, I kind of center back into often, is this what I would desire for my daughter? And very often the answer is I wouldn't want it to be that hard work. It's hard work, but that's not just my relationship. That's even my relationship with myself. Like, would I want my daughter to have to go through all the things that I've had to go through personally in the personal development sense just to get to that fulfillment and that peace, you know, and that enoughness that I have now? Fuck no. I hope she never has to go through it to get to
But
where
how
I
many
am
people
now.
do you know that didn't have to go through what you're going through?
Well, no one.
Exactly. So are you trying to set your daughter up for the fairy tale that doesn't exist as well? Like, I don't know any.
I love that reflection.
Sorry.
No, good.
On your own
Good,
podcast. But I
good.
don't know any human that doesn't get to go through the human experience. And I make a joke with my clients all the time, like, don't know why we signed up to this because shit's fucked. It's hard. It's amazing.
That's a beautiful reflection point. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. It's beautiful. There's moments of pleasure and aliveness and joy and accomplishment and fulfillment and magic. And then there's the moments of self-doubt and like, why am
Yeah.
I doing this? And did I make the right decision? Or should I really have left that guy?
Yeah, like the turmoil.
Why am I in this marriage all these years later? Would I want this for my daughter? If I'd stayed with him, would that be settling? Oh my God,
Yeah,
I'm
like the
single at
mind.
37. Should I have blah, 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 blah? If I just, I should have tolerated that thing. Like, we all said yes to being a human, and all parts of the human come with the human, and all parts of the human experience come with being a human.
Yeah, that is such. I'm going to contemplate on this
I would love you to.
deeply. I will, because I get it. I got it. Like, it hit where it needed to. You know, when
Yeah.
it does, like sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, like I'm trying to take away that experience. Yeah, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like, it always burns a bit at the start. But then you like see it and you're like, yep, okay, good one.
Yeah. And one of my teachers always says we're all going to fuck up our kids no matter what. Be the best parent ever. I know a story about a man who was the fireman and the captain of the football team, like the best dad ever, the most loved man. And his son had wounding just around how loved his dad was and could never compare to his father because everyone was like,
Yeah, so
you're
there was
Simon's
that.
son. And like, he just thought, like, oh my God, I have to
Yeah,
step
so
into
that was
the
too
shoes.
much almost.
Too much. Like, I've read stories about trauma. The little girl going to the freezer to get an ice cream from her mum every night, and there's two girls and they go together, and the mum gives one daughter the ice cream first. So that daughter grows up thinking, I'm never chosen, I'm always second best, it's because my sister's prettier, my sister always gets everything, I never get anything, my mum loves me less because I am who I am, and if I look like my sister and was accomplished like my
the
sister,
stories.
all over an ice cream. And so we just literally cannot save humans from the human experience.
No, we each got to learn our own lesson, and you can be there just lovingly.
Just like Chris going through what Chris gets to go through right now,
Gets to
having
go
his
through
ass
it.
handed to him
I
by
would
the
love to know
internet.
how he feels and just pick his brain. Like, honestly, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, honestly, how much did that burn? Because for me, that would have been a 10 out of 10 burn.
Yeah, I mean, last week I put up just before Chris's post went viral, I put up a post about desiring providership. I was talking about this will be my first year creating $1 million plus business, which is, let's go, girlfriend. From rock bottom, 100K in debt in the pandemic, and created this from scratch. So
yes.
I'm feeling pretty accomplished. And I was talking about the desire to provide and not wanting to be the provider in my relationship.
Yep.
And literally desiring to, like, I will create with my partner, be generous with my partner, but I desire him to step up
Love
in
it.
leadership
I know
and
exactly
providership.
what you mean.
Loads of women were like, finally, I feel so understood. I don't know what the algorithm did, but it pushed it onto someone's page that does not align with my beliefs. And it was a collective group of mostly men. And I just got slammed. You're going to die alone with your cats. You're old. You're ugly. You're a money hungry bitch. You're this. You're that. You know, for me, it was relatively viral. Like 200 comments of just hate.
Mate, that is.
But I found it amusing because I built the capacity to be judged online. So I was just like, whoa, this person's
you
really
probably
bad.
only build the capacity as you walk it, like little
Yes,
bit by little bit.
edging process, little by little. But 5 years ago, if someone wrote something mean on the internet, I would have a
I'd struggle.
week
I'd struggle.
being in a thing about a spiral
I'd have to
about
call
it.
up my spiritual coach, and I would need some deep healing sessions around
Yeah.
that. But it would then expand me for the future.
But do you feel because I don't care. I'm like, you can say whatever you want about me on the internet. I'm all good. I know who I am. And like literally, I was laughing too. I was like, 250 comments, give me 1,000. I'm all good, baby. I think this is funny. I've also been on the news for herpes and had comment sections go crazy. My best friend and I were in Bali. She's like, can we read the comments? I was like, do it. So we're sitting there laughing because to me, it's just words on the internet doesn't mean anything. But do you believe because there's a fear for you that exists around what you say and if it could be wrong and or the judgment that could come or the projection that could be fired at you, do you not maybe believe that that's going to happen?
Well, I think it will. I think it's guaranteed for this exact path I'm walking. Yeah. Which
Tell us what you go on, say the most controversial thing that you think and feel right now and do it.
You know, like I absolutely think that is written in the stars, which is I think sometimes holds me back. I don't even think I have that many controversial things. Yes. I think the thing for me is I know what it is. When I was growing up, because my father was narcissistic, the gaslighting mate. It's like you can't explain it unless you've lived it. And he was my safest. So I was reflecting back to this, my memory where I felt the safest in my whole life, right? Because there's a safety that I'm seeking too, which is not a safety that is within myself. It's a safety I'm looking for from a partner. Yes. And I went back into a memory where I was like probably since I could remember, but I was small enough to hold like a baby until I was so big. I remember sometimes being awkwardly tall, but my dad holding me and my head being in his arms and chest, and he would rock me and sing this. It's an Afrikaans song, and it's like basically sleep, my beautiful child, sleep. But he would sing the same song like dookie, 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 doo, 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 over and over again, always until I fell asleep. And when I connect back into it, it's that feeling I'm seeking. It's safe. I felt so safe in those moments because there's no dynamics going on. So it's my safe dad. And then imagine he's also my biggest threat, which he was. So that cognitive dissonance that I've grown up with as a kid is like, it's insane. And so my biggest block that continues to evolve, which is where my fear comes from, is if I hear an opinion that is stronger than mine, I might believe it.
Wow.
And so I've got to be incredibly strong in my opinions so that I know you can't fucking move me. I have a lot of them. Yeah. So then I'm cool. But the minute I've spoken and I'm being challenged and you're energetically kind of stronger than me, and I haven't found that base that you can't move me from yet, like there's a fear I'll believe you and I'll get stuck in that. So that's where it comes from for me. Interesting.
Have you worked with an edging process or, some people call it exposure therapy? Like if you're my client.
Are you trying to get me to go viral and get fucking flagged?
No, I'm not trying to get you to go viral. I would have if you were my client, I would have a strong desire for you to move through this. Yes. And sometimes very smart, intelligent women can go into the shadows and the patterns and the limiting beliefs, and they cognitively understand but haven't put it physically into practice. To the work that I do feel nervous system, somatics, embodiment. So if you were my client, I would, and I obviously don't know the full context.
No, I know.
I wouldn't rip the Band-Aid if we weren't safe to, but I would give you like 30-day challenge on social media where you share your strongest opinions daily, and you see literally what comes up when someone challenges you. Oh God, do I maybe agree? Beck just challenged me. Do I agree with Beck? Should I change my mind? Maybe should I delete the post? I'll delete Beck's. Like allowing yourself to be with everything that comes up in the.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
That's what in the actual doing of the thing that you're most afraid of.
Yeah, because I've never done that. I do breath work. And so in my breathwork sessions and energy healing sessions, I'll go into the darkest memory backwards.
Yes.
And bring it up and release. But I can see yours as the future. It's like building.
Yes. So that's where I want to challenge you. That's where I believe that women hide. Yeah. They're like, why am I not experiencing?
Yeah, I get you.
What did you do, Beck, that had you grow so fast?
Yeah, you just did
massively? I'm like, I put myself in the arena. I'm not sitting there. I do breath work and I do meditation and I talk to the ocean and pray to God and all things.
No, but you're doing the things and dealing with whatever comes up as it comes up.
I make sure that I have mentorship. I'm not just like
Yeah.
raw dogging it, like throw myself in, hope for the best. I've got support for when the thing, when it blows up.
Yep.
I've got someone there to hold me in the blow up. But I put myself in the fire, and then I'm like, oh my God, my biggest fear here right now.
Yeah.
Someone like absolutely slamming me on the internet. Here we go. How can I source, like you said, that safety that your father gave you? How can I find my own internal safety here in the face of this external experience making me feel like I'm having my safety taken from myself?
Yep. Totally get it. That's so beautiful. I've just been given the go that we've hit the time. Thank you so, so much. This has been good on all levels. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed the back end. Abso-fucking-lutely. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for coming on today and for saying yes and meeting me.
Oh, such a pleasure. I can't wait to share it. I can't wait to hear what people think about it. I hope someone hates what we said. Just like, can one person, just like, even if you really agreed with us, can you write the most nasty comment on both our feeds just to see what Shan does when it happens?
Just do it. Give me that exposure therapy.
Yeah, do
We're
it.
just joking about it now. We'll probably make it lighter, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's facing the shadow, like head on.
Yes. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.